best weak aura I've ever made. This is just absolutely beautiful. I'm going to talk about this atonement weak aura, and then I'm going to talk about the implications of useful functionality. So, weak aura is added a couple months ago, I think 2 months ago now. 1.5 months ago now, added something called overlays. Overlays allow you to have a bar or progress texture and to overlay something, some part of it onto itself. So for example, if I had a health bar, I could overlay healing, predicted healing, or absorb or something like that onto the health bar so that I could see how much of that said person had. And so yeah, that's the main case that you would see on stuff like LVI, that they use something like an overlay. But weak aura's got overlays. So I improved my atonement timer group thingy. So it's still this is unnecessary. I didn't clean up my atonement timer group. All this is one trigger. It is multi-target again, and is atonement. His only own. Pretty simple here. When you set to multi-target, will ask you to put in a dynamic group. Do it. Then the key part is here. This is these are all commented out, so all you need is this right here. This will just set the duration info for this weak aura to 20 seconds. This means that they will all be the same duration no matter what, unless you decide for some reason to have more than 50% haste and cast an Evenge directly after a single target in non-radiance atonement applier. So this will just set it to a nice time, so that they're all the same length. And so you don't need to find your group anymore and change everything in the group. It's all just in this one weak aura. Then the custom text function doesn't just make custom text. So I do actually have a text value for this one. It is active, and all it tells me is the amount of GCDs left before the atonement will drop off, so I know how much stuff I can cast. And basically, it has this stuff you would need for the. I'm tweaking the stuff you need to calculate that value, the amount of GCDs left. And then what we do is we look at the cooldown of penance, and the penance has a 9-second cooldown, and so then we have 3 test cases here. So if the duration is not 0, so that means if it thinks it's on cooldown, then the cooldown should be 1 minus the when it should be 9 minus when it thinks so will be. It will be 9 minus some number. I'm not gonna go in. This shit's real confusing. I actually can clean this up, but I don't know how. This is just checking if the duration of the cooldown is just the global cooldown. This is just to make sure that doesn't jump around a bunch, because of every time you cast a cooldown, it technically penance will go on cooldown, but we don't want it to apply as if it were going on cooldown. We only want it on cooldown when the spell's on cooldown. This just makes it so that the overlay bar won't ever go beyond the confines of the bar. So if it's ever basically less than 0, it will just stop. It will just be set to 0. And then this makes the bar. So this is a table that contains add bar. This is the most brute force way of making an additional bar. I literally I'm not calling any weak aura function. I'm literally going into the weak aura's data and manually setting up a bar. And this bar has a direction which is true, which means that is going to fill behind where the current bar is. And the width is CD. The length is 0 to 20 because 20 is the length is 0 to 20 because 20 works, as I recall. I tested a bunch of numbers, and sometimes the weak aura would like increase in, or the extra texture would increase in length or decrease in length. You'll see what the extra texture is. And yeah, it's just the add bar, the table of the add bars, a table of colors, which the colors are just in RGBA, which is all 0 to 1. False means it's not inverted. 0 is min, 20 is max. Yeah, and then this just is the rest of the print value. But yeah, so in action, you see if I press penance, it stops, and that's when penance is gonna be up. This is very helpful because then you know when you use penance how many weak or how many dudes are gonna be up the next time you use penance. You can also apply this to the global cooldown and see like when the next global cooldown is gonna be up. I actually plan on doing that next, and I will post that version in the video. It will just have an added extra texture with the global cooldown on it. Yeah, other uses include serendipity on Holy Priest. I know it can be used for. It can tell you how much of your cooldown it's actually going to change, or how much of the cooldown it's going to refresh based on, yeah, based on your serendipity. The only problem with that is that these overlays don't actually work with icon cooldowns, so you'd need a texture cooldown over the icon cooldown to show, or over the icon to show the cooldown along the icon. And that has a couple disadvantages, but really yeah, that's pretty much it. I think will be extremely helpful. It's also helpful for resources. You can see how much resource something's got to spend, how much resource. Here, I have an example for resources on my Holy Priest. My mana bar. This is my actual mana, and this is my extra mana from that I can get from Ley Torrent potions and from a Ley Torrent potion from Yangshi's reset. And then this is the value of the total thing, and so or the value of all the mana you could have in the fight. And so it's like a better mana bar. It tells you how much mana you have and how much mana you could have. Yeah. This was all I wanted to talk about, but I thought this was pretty fucking fancy. It's pretty useful. I've already thought of 3 use cases: the serendipity, mana bar, and the atonements. But I'm sure there are many more useful ones. Like if you want to track 2 cooldowns at once, when 2 things are going to line up or something, you could probably find a way to do that. But yeah, I'll put the weak aura code when I've added a global cooldown in there too in the video, and yeah.